So
Nice.
we have a guy on the show who's got at least 50 projects under his belt.
Yeah.
Teaches at a fucking school. Makes a living making a lot of these,
And
movies.
you did the journalism thing too, yes?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. That when I was coming up and when I was, doing the odd jobs, I'd have to take the 40-hour week job from time to time. And that would be the journalism jobs. I'd work as a photojournalist, an editor, multimedia journalist, and then, eventually promotions, because I wanted to get out of the news, but I was still stuck in the news. So
yeah. And anybody who has seen his interview on Project Veritas, we had you on the show not long after that came out, and that Brett has literally seen the decay of the Fourth Estate. The Fourth Estate is basically now it's like a crack house in Detroit. It's like it's just laying there in fucking shambles. No one cares anymore. There's squatters pissing and shitting all over the fucking floor. That's the Fourth Estate now. That's journalism.
I cannot believe how shitty our mainstream media is.
Yeah, I had brought that up in one of the insider videos that I got. There was an anchor in Houston. We were in like a Zoom call and one of those training meetings, and one of the questions came up about trust, and I said, look, the only people that the American people trust less than journalists is Congress.
Yep.
And an anchor says, I don't care. I don't give a damn whether they trust me or not. I'm just going to do and it's like, well, there it is. You're the anchor. We're supposed to trust you, and you don't even care.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of the mainstream media going bankrupt now because people are not tuning in.
And whenever they have, I think, wasn't it Joy Reid recently had a hot mic moment where she was bitching about Biden starting another war? They know they're lying.
Yes.
They absolutely know it. This isn't... They just read the script to you. They know they're completely full of shit and they're doing it anyway. And there's a 4-letter word to describe that, and it's evil.
I would definitely say it's the E word.
The E word.
Evil.
Not to be confused with the N word.
or
the N word, which we're allowed to say.
There's three.
Or what I call it today. Or what I call today, Marxism or socialism.
Well, socialism is basically the lobby for communism.
Yes. Yeah. It's just a paint job. That's all it is.
Well, you can never have true communism because you completely have to discount human nature for communism to work.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've heard this before, Mr. Mauser. I refer to every human being walking on this earth is an evil hairless monkey.
Yes.
And the only difference is some of us are more melanin challenged than others.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, one of my best friends says, hey, humans are going to do what they do best. They're going to human. Humans are going to human.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm. And we spend, how much of our GDP goes to the military? It's like 25% or some shit.
I don't even know.
Do
we even have a GDP considering we're 30 some odd trillion?
Yeah. Well, there's that.
And yet, let's just keep throwing money we don't have overseas to a bunch of countries that hate us. What could go wrong?
Yeah, well, we all know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We've done whole shows on this, so let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. So tell us about your book, Brad. What prompted you to write this? Was it the whole... watching the corporate media come down on you for blowing the whistle, or
it was a combination of things because it's actually separated into kind of three parts. And the first was there was a lot that the Project Veritas couldn't get to. They had like an 8-minute story, and I had so much more evidence, so much other details, and so many other stories that they couldn't get into there. So this was my opportunity to do that. And then of course when I came out on Project Veritas, there were all these. All the attackers came out, well, you're not really a journalist. You don't know, blah, blah, blah. So, part of that was, the first part is sort of me telling my kind of autobiographical about my time in journalism, starting way back in 2000 and how I've seen it slowly degrade. And just the stories and how it got worse and worse and worse until I was, at the San Antonio station in 2017 to 2021. And then the second part is all of that stuff with Project Veritas that they didn't get to, all of the examples, all of how they manipulate the news, how they avoid the truth, what their philosophies were. and the training that they were putting, journalists to not be objective. And then the third verse was basically because it's so difficult to try and explain to people that DEI, inclusivity, and all this is Marxism. So that whole third part is me drawing the comparisons and showing how DEI and all that is Marxism, and then breaking down Marxism is to show why it doesn't work and why it's evil and why it's wrong. Because I went into it kind of thinking, about those students or the people that have been indoctrinated and just think, well, okay, socialism isn't bad. It just hasn't been done right.
It's been done right. That's
right.
Now, first of all, here, Mr. Mauser, we all know between 1901 and 1999, there's been anywhere from 150 million to upwards of close to 1 billion people who have suffered and died under socialism / communism.
Yes, and I talk about it in my book, and about China, Russia, even bring up Venezuela. Showing the examples. And it's unfortunately just that idea. And there have been many people who have said it, better than I. But that whole idea, well, it's just the wrong people have been in charge, comes down to people's ignorance and their own vanity to think what they're saying is, well, if I were in charge, then it would work.
It'd be totally different. Even I find myself doing that. I better hope I don't run the show because and then
we still have to do that show.
Yeah, I know.
If Pop ruled the world, I mean, we have to do that show.
Yeah, well, actually,
it'd be a lot of fun.
I want to do the flowchart of insanity because a lot of stuff that's taking place is actually on the old flowchart.
Oh yeah,
like neutralize the Pope. I myself,
they actually co-opted the damn Pope.
Yeah, in my fucking plan, he gets whacked, but now he's actually he's getting behind all of this stuff. Yeah. Then you take over the media.
They already did that.
They grease the palms of politicians.
Yeah. BlackRock, Vanguard.
And then, BlackRock and Vanguard is using our own money that we put in 401ks and other vehicles to invest for our future, and they're weaponizing that money against us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Steve and I talked about this a couple times on the Tuesday show.
Because they want to destroy the middle class. And it wasn't working with the class warfare thing because it can't work with class warfare as long as there's a middle class. Right. If there's upward mobility, class warfare doesn't divide a population. So then they went for the race thing. And then Hispanics started voting Republicans. So they decided, well, now we have to have 72 genders. And we'll switch off on which is which, and if they wonder who's more oppressed, women or trans women, we'll just throw up our hands and say we don't know what a woman is.
Well, Mao was really big on that with his little red book and the non-gender thing and having all the boys and girls together shaving the heads and whatnot. That was like one of the biggest breakdowns of like there is no difference of like gender at all. Just completely destroyed that. And Black Lives Matter took a lot of their ideology from
of course
his
they
book also
self-admittedly.
It's this is not an allegedly. They said it.
They said it. And when you bring it up, the media is like, well, no.
But she said it. It's all over the internet.
We're going to fact check it, and we're just going to say needs context.
Yeah, because they have that. They have that. They had that on their website about they want to disrupt the nuclear family structure, and then they took it down when everyone started screen capping it and getting it all. So that's their goal,
and that's a core goal of feminism as well, family abolition. And there was one who wrote a whole book about it, and the lamestream media refused to even acknowledge it because that's not something people want to hear. Feminism is about family abolition, and it's actually like in the core tenets of its philosophy, just like boy love literally is responsible for over 50% of the original doctrine of queer theory. We can't have people finding out about that.
You bring in Eddie Money and all his research, and was it Eddie Money, John Money?
He's a kid diddling, human experimenting cockholes.
You look into the research and it's disgusting, and everything starts from there, and it all snowballs from there. And
I love being the one to point it out when like, well, if you voted for Trump, that makes you a racist. Well, if you like gender ideology, then you're a kid fucker by your own logic. Just saying. No, I'm not. Well, I mean, if you're going to play this guilty by association game, two can play it, and I know more than you.
And listen, like that whole trans thing, first of all, it's literally being used to divide the country.
Yep.
Over insanity.
Yeah.
I mean,
Literal
listen,
insanity.
they are literally out of their minds. So living in a delusion. And before this all got stupid like it is, it was 1/20 of 1% of the population was, trans.
Yeah.
And now it's what, 15, 20%, something like that?
Back when we did the Pledge of Allegiance in school.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to worry about pornography in the school libraries of elementary schools. The gay population was under 3% countrywide. Since they have taken the Pledge of Allegiance out, not allowed to talk about God, no this and that, and they bring in all this other shit. Now over 20% of Gen Z identifies as
it is so much of a fad, though. I mean, if we were in the 60s, they'd be hippies.
Exactly.
It's not gender ideology, it's trender ideology.
It's like freshman year of college stuff.
Yeah.
I'm experimenting, except your kind of experimenting will sterilize you. Oh, it's reversible. The Human Rights Commission told me so. They lied.
And they want to block people who've had that, like people like older people who've had this stuff years ago, who've come out against it and talked about how it's destroyed them mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. You can't talk about them. They shut those guys right down.
And we're having a hard time actually finding a decent merch place because the one that was recommended canceled the Gays Against Groomers.
Yep.
I will not do business with any company that has any history of.
That's what I told Amr. He's like, they're based. Says, well, they just canceled Gays Against Groomers, and this is what they wrote. And he's like, shit. Well, maybe the guys I talked to were based.
I got you.
Yeah, did you hear about that New York Times article? Was it like, oh, they thought they were trans, now they're not, blah, blah, blah. It was actually meticulously researched, very well sourced. The New York Times still ran it as an opinion piece, and people are still up in arms over it.
Wow.
How dare you say that this might not be the right thing, even though 41% of you self-delete?
Well, here's the other thing is I've noticed since I stepped into this arena that I have been ruthlessly hated for just telling the truth. I'm literally, all of our videos have all the sources and studies in them. Yeah. Do I make some crass jokes and talk a bunch of mad trash? Of course. That's my job. That's what I do.
Yeah. I totally didn't help you write some of those jokes.
No. Actually, 60% of the really good ones are written by that guy right over there.
Because I'm just ruthless when I get pissed off at stuff.
You didn't used to be in the beginning.
Well, no, in the beginning, I was just kind of letting you do your thing because, I mean, in order to have an interplay, I kind of have to understand your comic timing.
Mm.
And up until then, it was, I didn't understand your comic timing because I remember sitting across from you in Logan's and you going, I'm just getting tired of living, man. Like,
yeah, I got you.
Oh, that's fucking depressing.
Well, you're not wrong on that point, at least back then.
Well, things have changed. You found a reason to live.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, man.
I sure did.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporters Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.